This video is to talk about some of the features that can be used in creating a section for one of your communications for one of your subscriptions. A couple of things to keep in mind is that the emails that you send out are going to be viewed by people in a whole host of different browsers and also several different email applications such as Microsoft Outlook. Unfortunately, a lot of the browsers as well as a lot of the desktop applications have a wide variety of success in rendering things like HTML in different ways. This is why most organizations that send out email communications or that have subscriptions or regular emails that go out do mostly images instead of a whole lot of HTML text. So what I would encourage is, even though this HTML area right here where you can create some fairly complicated HTML, even though there's a lot of features available here, once you see that your HTML is starting to get a little bit more complicated or a little bit more complex, then the best thing to do is probably just to go to another application somewhere and just design an image to cover whatever information that you want to display. And then you can do a lot of things with the images. You can do a lot of things with different fonts that aren't necessarily going to get rendered correctly when people are viewing them in their browsers or in their desktop applications. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that are in here that are available to be done, but probably we'll want to keep most of the HTML complications or most of the HTML that we do in here fairly to a minimum. So a couple of things before we get started on putting some information in here. Over to the right is an area that I'll explain a little bit. If you have a section from another communication that is already pretty close to what you're wanting to use for the one you're creating, the section you're creating, maybe because it's something that's going to be common on every newsletter. For example, maybe there's a section that's going to appear on every newsletter. You can go ahead and select that here and copy it, and then that will copy the HTML, any images that have been put in, any links that have been added. It'll go ahead and put that into the section that you're working on, and then you can just make changes as you need to. So that might be easier to do rather than starting over from scratch. The next section down is a list of links, and these are links to images that have been added over in the asset section. So this would be under subscription and under assets. There's a video about how to upload those and what those are for. But as an example, there's a blue register button that has been created, and if that's going to be used in a lot of different places or potentially going to be used and embedded into HTML, there's a link here to it that you can use. And so that's what these are. So if you have common images that are going to be used over and over and over again, instead of having to upload those or create sections for those every time or try to figure out how to embed those into what you're doing, it may be easier just to create them as an asset, and then they're always available to be used from right here. The second section down here is called linkable content, and linkable content is it's something that would allow you, for example, if you wanted to put a little blurb about something into a section, and then at the end of that section have a link that says read the full article or read more about this or whatever it may be. You guys can create your own, I guess, articles or news items right in the subscriptions area. So what I've done, I'll just flip over here really quick. Over in the subscriptions area, I've created a subscription called linkable content. And it's not going to be a subscription that people subscribe to or anything that gets sent out. It just allows you to use the sections and the communication creation to make your own articles or your own news items or whatever it is that you want to create yourself. So I'm just going to click on that And so what I've done here is I've just created a little mini article called What is Aquaponics? And I just went and stole some information off of another site. But I just created a section here, and I just put some content in here, which would just basically be some things that some people might want to read up on about aquaponics. And so if you look at the details here, the name of that thing is called What is Aquaponics? And so over where we were working before, we go back over there to our little test area. And go back to the section I was going to add. And you'll see that linkable content, What is Aquaponics, is listed here. And then there's a link to it. So what this link does is this link provides the ability for you to be able to take this URL address and plug it in as a link when you're creating your article or when you're uploading your image that you might want to link to that particular article to read. And then what happens is when somebody clicks on that in their email, I'll just show you what happens. And when somebody clicks on that link that comes in their email, it would pop up something that would basically look like this, which is pretty much the article that I showed you. And this is a way for you guys to be able to do one of the things that you've requested, which is to be able to put a short blurb about something in the email that goes out or the newsletter that goes out, and then say, click here for more information, or click here to read the full article, or click here for more, whatever it may be that you want to do. This is a way for you guys to be able to create those using the communications and using the sections, and be able to link those. And so I'm going to show you exactly how that works. Actually, I'm just going to grab the first sentence off of this article right here. And I'm going to use that here in just a second. So let's say that one of the sections that we wanted to create in this mailing that we were going to do is basically an article about aquaponics. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that first section in there that we were just taking a look at. And then up here at the top, I'm going to put a little heading. What is aquaponics? And maybe I'll bold that, and maybe I'll make that, maybe I'll make that a little bit bigger and change it to a different color. Maybe I'll just underline it to you while we're there. So changing to one of the fonts that's available, changing to one of the styles that's available, changing a font size, a color, or a background, doing left, center, and right adjustment with your text, doing number lists and bullet lists or some of the things here, bold, italic, and underline. Those are pretty safe. Typically, those are going to render pretty well in just about any web browser, and also any email software such as Outlook. So those are usually pretty safe to do. But let's just say I want to put a little blurb in here about this article, but then I decided that I'd like to not put the whole article in here, but allow people to link to the article somewhere else. So I might say something like read more, and I will highlight that. And then up here is what looks like a little chain link. And if you click on that, that will allow you to take the text that you have highlighted right here and link it to something. So what I want to do is I want to take this link to this aquaponics article that I have here, and I want to hyperlink this read more so that it will go to that link. So now you'll notice in this pop-up here, whenever you paste, if you paste in an HTTPS or an HTTP, the little editor here actually knocks that off because there's a protocol up front here. And so since this is MealsByGrace.org is a secure site, this needs to be HTTPS, but you'll see when I did the paste that it corrected all that for you. This is probably fine to just leave it like it is. Another option is to click target here, and one of the target items that you can use is to open up that in a new window. So what would happen is if somebody were reading this email that we're going to send out in their web browser, and we put the target to be a new window, if they click on the link, it would open a new window for them in their in their browser experience. Typically, we don't need to do this in most cases because most of email software that's web-based and then also just downloadable software or such as Outlook will take care of that for them. So we typically don't need to use that. So the important thing here again is the link information. So I'm gonna click OK there, and you'll see that it actually changed colors and underline that. Now, if you want to underline it differently or make it be a different color or whatever it may be, you can do that. So now what will happen is when this email goes out, people can read this first sentence and say, oh, I'm interested in that. So I'll click here to read more. When they do that, then it would open up that article that we've created. And this is not, you don't have to restrict this just to articles that you've written. This could really be anything. So if you, guys went out and found an aquaponics article out on, or a link to a video about aquaponics or something like that out on a YouTube, you could copy the YouTube link in here, whatever that may be. And you can link to really anything. So if you have some other content that you want to include, or if you guys upload some videos to your YouTube channel and want to link to those, you can certainly link to those here. So I will not change that. I'll just leave that kind of how we had it. So again, if you wanted to make other, changes here or change colors or use any of the editing, again, those are pretty safe to do. There's a lot of other things that you can do in here. You can embed images. You can embed tables. There's some other features that you can use in here. So I would just say once you start getting much more complicated than this right here, it might be best just to go ahead and create an image and add an image in there. So some other things that you can do in here for a section is if you want to put one of the buttons that you've created or the assets that you've created at the bottom of the section, you can select it here. Again, if you wanted to embed it in somewhere in and among the text, you can use these links over here to do that. But if you just want to stick a click here to register button at the bottom of this particular section, you can do that. You can also upload images. If you wanted to upload an image to be included in this particular section, you can certainly do that. And so I'll just pick a odd looking image that I have here. And then you can specify the maximum width that you want this to be. The maximum is 640 pixels because that we want to try to maintain so that people will be able to view an email and then also potentially be able to print the email. And so 640 pixels wide is the widest that that you'd want to do that. So you can put 640 in here. If you wanted to make it smaller, let's say you just wanted it to be 300 wide and whatever, maybe 300, 200 tall. This image that I loaded, this may skew the image a little bit because I didn't look at the actual dimensions of the image. And then you can just select if you want to left center it, left justify it, center it, or right justify it. If you left justify it and you also have text, then it's going to try to put the image to the left of the text. Same thing for right. If you choose center, then it's just going to put the image below the text. If you, for some reason, wanted somebody to click on that image and be able to open up a hyperlink, for example, if you wanted them to go to the specific place where they would register for an event, so if it's click to register and it's a specific event, then you could get the link to that event, which is probably going to look something like MealsByGrace.org, register.aspx, and then typically it's like event key equals, or actually if you look it up on there, you're going to see something that looks like a bunch of encoded information that would link to the register. But you can put that right here, and then it will automatically hyperlink this image that you're uploading. And then Also, you have the ability, if you have created an ICS file, so that, for example, you're sending out something to promote an event that's coming up, a special event that's coming up, or maybe some particular a volunteer event that's going to happen, and you want to do a save the date type thing, you can click here and upload an ICS file, and that ICS file will be something that people that are using something like Microsoft Outlook will be able to click on, and it will automatically load it into their calendar. You can also link to a calendar event that's created in Google Calendar. So you can go to your Google Calendar and you can create a link for a particular event, and then you can just paste that link in here. And so people that have Google Calendar will be able to click on that, and it will add it to their Google Calendar. There's just a note down here at the bottom. It says, if you include both an image and text in the same section, aligning left or right will display the text in line with the image. That's what I was explaining before, which is, for example, if I chose left here on this image, then it would try to put the image on the left, and then the text would appear on the right when we actually display this. So those are some of the options that are available. This countdown to link here is something that we had talked about activating, which has not been activated yet, but it's the ability to include a countdown clock within the email. And again, this is just a reminder right here, this note down here, if you want the recipient's first name to appear in the text, you can add bracket, name, bracket. So like, for example, here you might say, hey, name. So if it were going to me and say, hey, Ken, ever want to learn more about aquaponics? And then, so that makes it a little bit more personal. And you can, again, also include this in the salutation or the subject line of the email by using that bracket, name, bracket. Again, that will include the first line. So that's pretty much how to add a section for this. And so then I would just click save. And that's going to save the information. It's going to upload the image. I think this image that I included was fairly large. So it may take, if your image is kind of large, it may take a little bit of time to be able to upload it. So you can kind of see what happened here. The display that appears in your admin site, it is just going to try to display that section approximately how it's going to look in your email. But again, the reason that we've provided these tools over here to send a test email or maybe to preview it in a browser is to allow you to see it how it's actually going to look. This is just kind of a mock-up to just sort of give you an idea of, hey, I'm on the right track, or hey, this looks about like what I was hoping to do. So you can see it took my very large image that I uploaded and it resized it to about 300 pixels wide by 200 pixels high. It looks like it turns out that was about the dimensions I was looking for. Here's the title of my article. You can see the text that I put here, and then here's the link that will allow me to read more. And then here's that click to register information that I put on here to be able to click here to go to register for a particular event. So again, I'll preview this in a browser. And you can kind of see what this thing is going to look like if I actually emailed it out. And again, here's the read more, and you can see that if I click on that, it takes me to the site and takes me to that article.